afternoon, everybody. It's 12:02 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thursday, June 17th, 2021. My name's Dave McRae, coming to you live from the VoiceMann Studios in Toronto, Canada, rocking a original Batman logo shirt today. Why not? I don't know. Why not? This is episode 179 of McRae Live. And I have a bit of a beef I need to get off my chest on the show today. It's a show that I don't expect a lot of people to tune into because why aren't you talking Halloween? Shut up! God. Anyway, no, look, I needed to get this off my chest because this is something that I find incredibly annoying, incredibly frustrating, And it's not that I don't understand why this can happen, although the one that the main one that I'm going to talk about today is a little strange to me. But it's not that I don't understand why these things happen. Look, there's reasons why these things happen. And maybe I wouldn't care if I was somebody that watched television. Now, when I say television, I am simply referring to, obviously I'm referring to, even streaming shows are called television shows. I think they're called what are they called? Streaming TV because, generally speaking, you can still watch it on your television if you have a smart TV and all that kind of stuff. Network television is dying. It's not, cable essentially is what I'm talking about when I say network TV. It's dying. People still watch it, but it's dying. I'm not somebody that watches a lot of television, okay? And when I do watch TV, I'm usually watching, a documentary or a movie, or I'm going nostalgic. I'm going old school. I'll watch old episodes of The Golden Girls. I'll watch old episodes of, Three's Company or Cheers or Frasier or I don't know, The Cosby Show or Family Ties or I don't know. I'm old school. I generally don't watch a lot of modern television. Now, I'm prefacing this video by saying this because it helps to give you context of why it may frustrate me more than maybe the average person, although I stand to be corrected. And that's not because I don't believe there's a lot of great modern shows today. I'm not saying there aren't. I just don't care. I don't know. I'm just not somebody that gets into a lot of stuff. I've watched a few modern things, but it's a spectrum, right? There are people that watch a few things, and then there are those that are neck deep into 45 different shows, and and it's fuck, that's a lot of ass time. When I mean ass time, I mean, to invest in all these fucking shows that come out, it's a lot of ass to couch time. There's a lot of commitment to sitting and watching, 50 different television shows. I just don't care to sit my ass on the couch that long and do that. Anyway. So the one thing that frustrates me is something called what I like to call premature cancellation. Yes, it might sound like premature ejaculation. This frustrates me. And like I said, maybe it frustrates me because I don't watch a lot of shows. So it seems like the ones I pick are always getting canceled. And canceling a show is nothing new. Shows have been canceled since the dawn of television, for God's sakes. Their reasons have slightly changed. But it seems like the frustrating thing today is premature cancellation. And what I mean by that is shows that get canceled in the middle of an arc or their narrative for no regard to completing anything. It's just done. It's over. It's gone. It fucking pisses me off. And like I said, maybe it doesn't piss off the average person who invests their time into 50 different shows because they have 49 other shows they can watch, or maybe they're used to their favorite show getting canceled in the middle of something and never finding out what the fuck happened. As I've said, I know how the business side of show business works. it's not lost on me the many reasons why a show may get canceled. And one of the big reasons, of course, is viewership, ratings, right? Sometimes what can happen is a show can get greenlit, and maybe a network will run, they'll order, let's say, 6 episodes of a first season, okay? And those 6 episodes of a first season, do okay. It's not great. The viewers, the viewership isn't great. It's well below what they hoped, let's say, right? It's okay. But sometimes the network will say, you know what? Let's order a second season anyway. Now, that can sometimes happen because even though the show is well below what they were hoping, it's counter-programming to most everything else they have. It's very different to what else they have, and it's a nice sort of accent to the rest of what they have. And the ratings weren't like abysmal. It was just not what they had hoped. But maybe if they order a second season and put it on this day instead of that day, or move it over to this instead of that, or whatever the case is, right? A little bit of juggling, a little bit of wiggling, it can find an audience. Sometimes that happens. Okay. And then sometimes you green light a show because, or you love the pilot, so you order a 10 episode first season. That first season does amazing. It's got 20 million, well, maybe not 20 million, but 10 million viewers, and it's great. And then as the seasons go on, second season, third season, the viewership starts to dip. There's a big dip, right? What do we do, right? Show gets canceled. Okay. It's business, folks. It's business. Networks and streaming services, generally speaking, do not want to spend millions of dollars producing something nobody's watching. I mean, I get it. It's business. 100%. I get it. But as a viewer and as a casual viewer of shows today, I am so disheartened and frustrated. And I feel like, I know this probably isn't the best business move, but I feel like taking my business hat off for a sec and just talking about my emotional attachment as a fan, I cannot help but feel that if we're going to cancel a show, okay, we're going to cancel it. You know what? The viewers are not there. It's not there. There's this, and this, and we're getting this, and we're looking at these patterns and those patterns, and we got to cancel it. We got to cancel it. We got to cancel it. Okay. Can we at least wrap it up? Can we at least kind of, I don't know, just say, you know what? I know you were hoping to wrap this up over 2 more seasons. Now, ain't happening. Can you wrap this up over 1 more season? Or can you wrap this up over 6 more episodes? Can you do that? It may not be the ending that the fans deserve. It may not be the ending that you as the creators want. Hell, it may not be the ending as, we as the studio or the streaming executives would have hoped for. But we're giving you an opportunity, instead of just leaving it, we're giving you an opportunity to, as best we can, wrap up something. That generally doesn't happen. And it is fucking frustrating. So as I said, I'm not somebody that watches a lot of shows. And a couple years ago, I was looking for, I found this show on Netflix. I'm just giving you a couple of examples of what I'm talking about. I found this show on Netflix called The Society. Now, listen, as a 42-year-old man, I realize I am not the target demographic for this show, okay? But I was looking for something Stranger Things-esque. I think I was under the weather, and I think this is 2019, I think. And I was under the weather, and I was looking for something kind of, mysterious and sci-fi and slow burny. You know how I am, right? And I found this show called The Society, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I started watching it. Clearly, yeah, I mean, it's a teen angst. I'm not the target demographic. But that first season was spectacular. The show was terrific. The writing was great. The mystery was kind of eerie and creepy, right? The performances from these young actors were spectacular. And by the time it got, and of course it ends on this massive cliffhanger. Massive cliffhanger. Kind of shit, right? Well, supposedly COVID-19 was the big reason why it was canceled. Yeah, canceled after 1 season. Yeah, that's it. Sorry, done. Done. No, we don't fucking care. We don't care. We don't care. We're not making money. No, done. Done. they were all getting ready to shoot the second season. But of course, it is an ensemble piece. I get it. COVID-19 was really, was ramping up at this time. No, can't do it. So instead of delaying it indefinitely and coming back to it, I don't know, now, or I don't know, last fall or early this year, or earlier this year, I should say. No, just canceled it. Just canceled it completely. Not delayed it, canceled it. An otherwise really good show with really good ratings, with a fan base that had just been, no, gone. So now you will never know what happened. Ever. No, just, that's it. I invested time in watching this, and there's, no, gone. Now again, I'm speaking from a fan, okay? There's two hats you can wear. You can wear the business hat, and I get it. But I'm like, why do I bother? Why am I bothering to invest this time? And then, of course, I see this interview with one of the actresses who was on the show, The Society, right? And was like, well, we're so sad and it's unfortunate. And I'm sure, I get it. Listen, as an actor, I get it. When you have, you are, actors by trade are, contract players. You don't really hear that term anymore, but that's what we are. We are hired, we go from job to job to job, right? It's not like we are, unless we get hooked into a show where we are, we sign a contract and we're guaranteed this much or this amount, and I'm talking about shows, not financial, right? There's different contracts and there's all different variables at play. But generally speaking, actors, whether you are a voice actor or an on-camera actor or even a crew member, you are going from job to job. But she said, it sucks. It's too bad. And, I get it. I believe that they're sad because they're out of work. They're talented that they will find other work, of course. But they were like, they said, it's on Netflix right now. You can go back and you can watch it. And I remember thinking to myself, why the fuck would I watch it? Why the fuck would I go back and watch the first season of The Society knowing it goes nowhere? Why? Why would I give myself blue balls, television blue balls, for what? For what? It goes nowhere. It just ends. That's it. And ends on a, no, that's it. Done, gone, zilch, zero, nada. And I don't even think they had to cancel it. You could have just delayed it indefinitely and said, hey, listen, go off and do other hey, what, you got that movie you need? Oh, you know what? You can go do that. No, we're shelving The Society for right now because of the, ensemble and being close proximity and the whole thing. Because this is like May of 2020, right? This is when like things were like in its peak. You know what I'm saying? So I get it. Just shelve it. Don't cancel it. What are you doing? No, canceled. Gone. Another show, which of course is the title of this video, Manifest. Now, whether you liked The Society, whether you liked Manifest, whether you liked blank fill-in show that just canceled prematurely, whether you like the show or not really becomes irrelevant. I could not care less whether you liked Manifest or you didn't, or whether you liked The Society or you didn't, or whether you liked blank or you didn't. I couldn't care less because it becomes irrelevant. You may not care if a show gets canceled, but it's the principle of what I'm talking about, right? So, and this has happened to me with other shows as well, not just The Society and not just Manifest. This has happened to me with other shows as well. That it's happened to me so often that I will actually, if I happen to be skimming Netflix and find a show that piques my interest in terms of its premise, I will literally, and I'm not kidding, I will go, oh, that sounds cool. Google. And I will Google the show to see if it's still going, if it hasn't been canceled. And there are many times I will read a synopsis that sounds really intriguing and really interesting, and the show's not that old. Like, it'll say 2020 or, 2019 or something. Okay, well, it's a show that's just a couple years old. But I noticed that Netflix only has like one season. And I'm like, what's going on here? So I will Google it. Nope, canceled. After one season. I'm like, why the fuck would I watch this? Why would I watch a show on Netflix that goes nowhere? Unless it's a mini series that has a beginning, a middle, and an end, all in 5, 6, 7, 8 episodes or whatever, right? Unless its intention was one season. But that's not what this is. No, that's not what this is at all. So why would I invest in this? So I don't. There's a lot of shows I've read the little synopsis on Netflix. I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. And then I look it up and no, it was canceled. And I'm like, well, then fuck it. It's not a movie that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's a series that is designed to go on for, no, I'm not watching it. I'm not watching it. So Manifest. So I find this show the other day. I've never heard of it. I don't have cable anymore, okay? It was an NBC show. I find this show. It's on Netflix. I'm like, oh, what's this? I had actually just finished watching the Denis Villeneuve movie Arrival, which I did see back in 2016, I think it was, in the theater. Loved it. Thought it was great. Hadn't seen it in a while. I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch this again. So I watched it, and I really liked it. Again, it's a good movie. And so after the movie was done, I back on my remote and, it comes to the main screen on Netflix and there is Manifest. And I'm like, oh, what's this? And I read the little blurb that's there and I'm like, oh, that sounds up my alley, right? Slow burn, mysterious sci-fi. What's going on? We're put in the same position as the characters on screen. So it's like we're one of the passengers, right? It's not like we know what's going on, but the characters don't. So we are just watching the characters discover what we already know. No, that's not what it is at all. We are put in the same position as the characters on the screen. So the characters don't know what the fuck is going on. We don't know what the fuck is going on. And it's like we're on this journey together. I love shows and movies that are like that, right? The discovery. We're discovering it as they discovered. I like that kind of shit. Sometimes it can work the other way too. Like you can know what's going on, but they don't know what's going on. So half the fun is watching them discover what you already know. That can work too. It all depends on the design of the narrative and all that kind of stuff. Okay. It can work, but I really love the other way, right? So I'm like, oh, this is interesting. So I watched I Google it, Manifest. Okay. This is just like on Saturday. I Google Manifest. And I'm like, oh, it's an NBC show. I'm like, okay, which makes sense because when you watch the show on Netflix, there are distinct commercial breaks, like where the commercial would be, like it cuts to black and then it just, Anyway, so I'm like, oh, okay, it's still going. They just finished doing their third season. I'm like, oh, cool. Okay, got some really good reviews. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to check this out. Great, it's not canceled. Great, maybe it's just kind of, it's coming over to Netflix now. Awesome, there's 2 seasons, great. So I start watching it. And I watched the first episode and I'm like, well, this is interesting. This is, cool. Okay, this is interesting. I was intrigued enough. I started watching the second episode and the third episode and I started I'm binge watching this show, right? It's Sunday afternoon. I'm taking a break, nothing going on. I'm like, so I start watching the show, myself and my cat, we got some munchies and we're watching this show. Yeah, as the episodes go on, does it get a little ridiculous? So sure, but you suspend your disbelief. You buy into the characters, right? You become attached to the characters and, and it's, if you don't take it too seriously, you can enjoy the experience. So I'm like, okay, well, this is kind of interesting. And I don't watch a lot of television. So this is like, I'm like, oh, this is cool. This is right up my alley. Like I love it's the premise. It's the premise that I find interesting and fascinating. Okay. So I'm watching this. I'm like, wow. So I find myself, I'm binge watching. I'm on to the third and the fourth and the fifth episode. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is really good. So then I think I binge watched like the whole first season, like in that one day or something. I mean, I took breaks obviously and did some other things, but I came back to it, right? It's great. It was cool. So then I find out Monday, was it Monday? What's today? Today's the 17th, so it's Thursday. Yeah, Monday. I think Monday was the 14th. I find out Monday, I just started the first episode of the second season, okay? Now, there's 3 seasons of Manifest. There's only 2 of those 3 seasons on Netflix. So I just started the first episode of the second season. I'm like, oh, this is kind of a cool show. It's kind of cool. It's not bad. It's kind of cool. And then I find out that it's been canceled. I see that the show's been canceled. And in the blurb and in the write-up, I find out that season 3, which I haven't watched yet, obviously, because it's not on Netflix and I don't have network television. Apparently season 3 is on Hulu or something like that, but we don't get Hulu here in Canada. So I'm like, I find out that season 3 apparently ends on a massive cliffhanger. That's not a spoiler. I mean, with a show like this, you're bound. The first season ended on a cliffhanger. The second season ended on a cliffhanger. And that's it. Done. So, no, done. Now, I think they're going to try and shop it around. Maybe because it's doing so well on Netflix, maybe Netflix will pick it up. Maybe not for, a couple of seasons, but maybe they'll pick it up for at least a 4th season, and maybe they'll have a chance to wrap it up, or I don't know, right? Sometimes that happens. Network television will cancel a show, and one of the streaming services, whether it's Amazon, Hulu, or Netflix, or wherever, will pick it up. You know what I mean? So that has happened. It has happened. Maybe it'll happen with Manifest, but it's the principle of what I'm talking about. Here's a show that was #1 in its block, I believe, on NBC. The ratings have dropped, but I believe the ratings were better than even Good Girl, if I'm not mistaken, which they've already greenlit for another season. So I'm like, okay, this doesn't really make any sense. The real reason why Manifest was canceled really hasn't come out yet as of shooting this, or as of doing this episode. But everything I read, yes, the viewership, I think they were getting 3 million views, which is down significantly from their 10 million first season. But, a first season of most shows do very well because it's new, and, you're watching the show to discover whether or not you like it. So generally speaking, you will always find the first season of a new show, generally speaking, will always have higher ratings than its subsequent seasons, because you have to watch it to find out whether you like it or not. And then if you don't like it, you don't continue watching, right? Now, sometimes there isn't a dip of 10 million to 3 million over 2 seasons. Sometimes, the first season will be like 10 million, the second season maybe like 8, and then the third maybe 7 or 6, and then you kind of, maybe you stay in there. So there is a significant drop, but it was still doing very well, according to what I read, in its time frame, in its block, in relation to its other shows that it was in with. It was doing very well. So it is, even TV, enthusiasts and people that are smarter than me when it comes to sort of the network side of TV have said it is strange. It's strange that they canceled it, and like canceled it. It didn't say, you know what, ratings are down, 4th season's your last. I know you have this 6-season arc. We ain't going to do it unless for whatever reason, the 4th season it skyrockets. Plan on ending this 4th season. We're going to greenlight it for 1 more. You got 4, we're out. They didn't even do that. It was just, now, God, canceled. It's like, but so why would I continue watching the rest of the series? So I started watching episode 1, season 2, knowing now that the show goes nowhere. It literally goes nowhere. Why would I continue watching it? What is the point? Now, maybe you're somebody out there that doesn't matter. Maybe you watch so many freaking shows that you're used to this kind of thing happening. But I find it incredibly fucking irritating from a fan's perspective, from a business perspective, from a bureaucratic perspective, from a studio executive perspective. They don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck unless they are fans of the shows too. But this is business, right? This is business. I get it. And sometimes these decisions can be very difficult, even for business, even on the business side. I get that. But at the end of the day, money and business will always win over. But I'm just like, God, I just started watching this show. Canceled! Why? Can we get to a point? Can we get to a point where, and I know this probably isn't the best business decision, but is it possible? I implore you, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, Disney Plus, they're not, whatever, Paramount, Peacock, NBC, ABC, CBS, everybody. Can we at least instill something where it's like, hey, your show sucks now. Nobody's watching now. But you know what? We're going to give you 2 more episodes, half a season to wrap it up. Just to wrap it up. There's so many fucking shows out there, and shows I haven't even seen or probably haven't even heard of, that just end it's just messy. It's just messy to me. It's this like arcs go nowhere. Narratives are not complete. Questions are never answered. It just stops. And it's just like, as a creator, as a filmmaker, as an artist, that's gross to me. It literally is fucking gross to me as a creator. I hate that. I hate that. I hate that. And it's so frustrating. Why would I continue watching Manifest? Why? Why would I continue watching the show if it goes nowhere? It's on Netflix. Have you watched Manifest? Why? Yeah, I started to. I thought it was pretty cool. Kind of a cool premise. Got a little like, woo, but whatever. You suspend your disbelief and you just enjoy the ride. You know what I mean? Are you going to finish it? Why? Apparently it ends on this blue balls gigantic testicle cliffhanger of season 3, for which isn't even on Netflix yet. So why, and I know this, it's canceled, it goes nowhere. Even the actors are, even the creator of the show was like, yeah, so it just ended. That's a gut punch, and the fans deserve. Yeah, so why would I invest? If I find out that Netflix picks it up for a 4th season, or if Amazon picks it up or somebody picks it up, then maybe I'll continue watching. Well, obviously I'll continue watching because I know that there's a chance that my story that I've invested my emotional time in, and real time, not just emotional time, actual time, ass to couch sitting time, is actually going to have an ending. I actually get to watch a story complete. But if your story's not complete, what am I watching for? Like, what am I doing? Why would I watch? You can watch The Society again if you want. Why? Just so when it gets to the end of the season, it can go, and I go, oh, well, I guess I'll never know. I don't want to sit and live in this perpetual state of television blue balls. I mean, what the hell? Premature cancellation. That's what this is. Folks, does this happen to you? If you're watching after the fact, comment below and let me know your thoughts. What television shows did you invest time in only for it to be canceled in the middle with, and I'm not talking about a show that was given an opportunity to end, but maybe didn't end in the way that you wanted. That's not what I'm talking about. Although that might suck, at least they were given, hey, you know what? Next season's your last. Okay, then we can go to the writer's room and write an ending. I'm talking about shows that you invested ass to couch time in, that you became emotionally attached to, that just the network, the streaming service, whatever, just decided to end it. Like in the middle. It would be like me going, folks, I think it's one of those things. Yeah, that's literally what I'm talking about. See what I just did there? I'm in the middle of talking and the show, and that's what I'm talking about. You don't know what I'm going to say. You don't know where it's going. You have no idea how I'm going to finish the sentence. It just stops. What shows, even in the comments section, what shows have that? Now, keep in mind that there were some shows that were delayed and shelved because of COVID-19. Remember that. So there may be, do a bit of digging. If you're unsure, you're like, yeah, what happened to that show? Is that show still going? Do a bit of digging to find out, because some shows went on hiatus while the world worked through this pandemic, which is why I don't understand why the Society didn't just go on hiatus. I mean, look, there could be contractual reasons why, like there's a number of reasons why they may not have done that. But I was so surprised that they just so quickly canceled it, the Society. And again, I know I'm not the target demographic, and it might sound like I'm, I feel like I'm, this 40-year-old guy getting into this teen show, but it was a good show. And the performances, it was very mature, very adult, it was good. I was impressed. I wanted to see where it went. No! COVID cancel! Yeah, no, wait, do you think maybe we could just, no, we're canceling it! Well, no, I understand we can't shoot the second season right now, but maybe if we just shelve it, allow our actors to go on and do other things, and then we can revisit this maybe in the fall. No, we're canceling it! Yeah, but what about that? We don't care! We don't care! No, but there's so many left. No! That's what it feels like. It's like, but you can watch the first season again if you want. Why would I do that? Well, because it's good. It's good? Yeah, but the season goes, the show goes nowhere. So? No, but why would I invest time in a show that goes nowhere? Because the first season was good? You want to punch in the face? Like that's I feel like punching these these streaming services in the face. What is going on here? Now, why could this be happening? Well, one of the reasons why this is happening is because we are inundated with content more today than we ever have been before. And especially when it comes to Netflix, it's a numbers game. Netflix produces a lot of garbage. They produce a shitload, no pun intended, maybe pun intended, garbage. A ton of dog shit content. And then every now and then there's one that comes along that's pretty good. So the more you throw at you, right, the more you create, the more garbage there will be. And then there will be that one or two or three that stick out that are actually pretty good. You know what I mean? And that's why you see a lot of Netflix shows being thrown at you and then they get canceled after one season or two seasons. You know, because there's so much, you know, and it becomes a numbers game at that point, you know, and then there's one or two amongst the 50 that happen to stick. Now that's nothing new, by the way. Okay. I mean, I think I don't have the stats in front of me, but I'm making an educated guess that I think because of the era we live in, that is more apparent today. There is much more content being produced. But even back in the day, I mean, even back, you know, when I was a kid in the 80s and as a teenager through the 90s, I mean, you know, there was something called pilot season, which still exists, of course, right? And there were a ton of shows being produced and shows that just did a pilot that never got picked up, right? They would do a pilot. The network would say, hey, we love this idea. We're going to give you some money. You shoot a pilot. They shoot the pilot. They show the pilot. I don't know about this. You know what I mean? I'm not crazy about this. So they don't even get past the pilot. Or sometimes, you know, they would love the pilot and they'd say, this is fucking hilarious. This is amazing. Do you think you can do? Yeah, you can. Okay, well, you know what? We'll order you a 6-episode first season or a 10-episode first season. Or maybe it's really good and hilarious and it's got some really big names attached to it. So way back in the day, a first season of television, for those of you that are not old enough to remember or even to know, network television, a first season of a sitcom on network television would be like 24 episodes. Like now we're used to like one season being like 10 episodes. But back in the network television days, back in like, you know, the 80s especially, you know, you'd have like a first season would be like 24 episodes or a season would be like 22 episodes or something, right? But certainly even back then, back in that era, there were many shows that were not picked up either. But I just can't help but feel that the volume of shit that's being produced today is part of the reason why so much is getting canceled in the middle. Like, it's one thing to produce a pilot and to watch a pilot and go, oh, this is really cool. I hope this goes on, and it doesn't go on. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you watch a pilot, like, it doesn't go on. But to have like 2 or 3, that's why the average season count on Netflix is something like 3 or 4 seasons. Because, you know, I mean, it's just, I don't care if a show is 3 seasons. I don't care if a show is 1 season. I don't care if it's a mini series that is 4 episodes. Can you at least allow the arc and the narrative to be complete? Please, for the love of Emperor Palpatine. No, but I mean, like, come on. It's frustrating. It doesn't, and this is why I Google shows. You know, and if I had just waited, if I had waited 4 more days before watching Manifest, if I had not seen Manifest on Saturday and I had seen it like today, you know what I mean? I would, oh, Manifest, cool. I would have Googled it. And the first thing that would have popped up was Manifest canceled after 3 seasons. I would never have watched it. Never would have watched it. Nope. I would have been like, oh, that sucks. Premise sound really good. Oh, well, next. What shows, because again, I don't know all the shows out there, but in the chat room, let me know what shows have this happened to you that you've got emotionally invested. And again, I don't mean a show that's just ended in the way that you didn't want it to end. I mean a fucking show that literally ends on a cliffhanger with the clear intention to continue the story, the clear intention to do more. But a network says, no, we're just going to end it here. And they have their reasons of why they do that, some of which may be very valid, right? Like I said, no network, no streaming service is going to want to spend millions of dollars. And that's what it costs to produce a season. Folks, it can cost several $1 million to produce an episode. It costs millions of dollars to produce multiple episodes. No streaming service, no network wants to spend that much money if nobody's watching. I get it. I understand it. I just wish there was a little bit of an asterisk that where it's kind of like, oh, you know what? Nobody's watching, but instead of just canceling it here, we're going to allow you to, I know you wanted to complete the story over, this much time. Now that window has really shrunk. Do you think you can complete this story over, 6 episodes, or even if they said, you know what, we're going to produce one more season, next season, it's like, because sometimes that happens too. Like that, it doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes in shows, networks will say, you know what, ratings are down. We've noticed a pattern. We don't think that pattern is going to improve. So next season is your last season. So that gives the writers and the producers and the actors time to get not just emotionally and mentally prepared, but it gets the writers prepared to end the arcs and the narrative over the next season. Maybe they were hoping to do it over 3 more, but they can't. So they have to consolidate. They got to compact. They got to, and hopefully they can figure out something that doesn't feel rushed, right? Doesn't feel rushed, feels pretty good. You know what I mean? I wish they could do that. I understand why they don't, and certainly depending on the show and the show's budget, that may not be a realistic option. I get all that. But as a fan of watching good drama play out on TV and in shows, good performances, good writing, not that Manifest is this great. I'm just saying, you know what I'm trying to say. As a fan of watching a show that I like, I just wish that would happen. Dave, did you know Manifest is #1 on Netflix right now? It's got 2 seasons. Yeah, I watched the first season, really enjoyed it. Watched the first episode of the second season, was really into it. I don't know if I'm going to, no, there's no point. Why? It's good. Yeah, but it doesn't go anywhere. Yeah, but you should still watch it though. You should still watch it. I don't want to fucking watch it. It goes nowhere. When they tell me that Manifest has been picked up by Netflix for 1 more season or whoever, well, then I'll continue watching because I know now I'm going to get an ending. Anyway, that's how I feel about it. I want to go over to the chat room now and see what you guys are saying. If you're watching after the fact, comment below. Let me know your thoughts on premature cancellation. Does it annoy you or do you not care? Maybe you're somebody that you are invested in so many shows that you just don't care. Maybe it's a minor nuisance. It's a minor annoyance. Oh, that sucks. I was kind of into that show. Oh, well, on to the next one. But as somebody who just doesn't watch television shows, modern shit, I find it incredibly annoying because it seems this is like the 3rd or 4th show that this has happened to me with. And it's really frustrating. I'm very picky with, in case you haven't noticed, I'm very picky with what I am into or what I like or what piques my interest. And when I find something that I find interesting and they cancel it, or there's another show too that I don't know when the 2nd season is coming. It's called Into the Night. Now I believe it's a French show, but it's dubbed in English. You can watch it subtitled or you can watch it dubbed in English. And the premise, I watched the whole 1st season like a year or so ago. Same thing. It's about a plane, but the premise really interested me, right? It's about these group of people that board this plane. They fly off into the night and they have to keep flying ahead of the sun because I forget how, but they find out that the sun is actually killing people on Earth. And there's some sort of apocalyptic thing happening on Earth below them. So they always have to keep flying into the night. They have to keep ahead of the sun and flying around the world. And they'll land somewhere, to fuel up and all that kind of stuff. And they got to find it, they have to find out what's going on. There's a mystery and who's who and all that kind of stuff. Is it government? Is it not? All that kind of stuff, right? It was really cool. Not as high production value as Manifest, but certainly a well-produced show that I really liked. And again, it was dubbed in English, or you can watch it subtitled. Obviously, it did really well because it said that a 2nd season was coming. That label has been on there for months. I don't know when a second season is coming. I imagine that COVID-19 probably delayed it, but I haven't heard anything about Into the Night being canceled. Now, I stand to be corrected. Somebody may be like, yeah, Dave, it's been canceled. I don't know, but I haven't heard anything about that yet. But if Into the Night can be delayed because of COVID, I'm pretty sure The Society could be delayed because of COVID as well, because Into the Night was a fucking ensemble piece as well. Anyway. But that's another show that I watched the first season. Now I'm waiting for the second season, you know? And if that show gets canceled, I'll be pissed because I'll be like, well, fuck. It feels chintzy and cheap. I feel had. And again, I know that there's two hats, right? There's the fan hat that you wear and there's the business executive hat that you wear. But I just don't like investing my time into something that goes nowhere. It's fucking annoying. I understand shows get canceled, but it would be great if you could at least allow them to finish it. You know, even if that means just over half a season. Listen, we can't green light a whole season. We just can't do that. You know, but you know what? We're going to give you a 6-episode final season. So wrap it up in 6 episodes. And maybe the writers will be like, really? Oh, fuck, how the hell are we going to do that? But at least it's something. You know? At least it's something. Premature cancellation. Wayne Downey says, I hate premature cancellation. It disappoints my wife, too. I bet it does. I bet it does. It's so annoying. So frustrating. Joe's My John Jr., I think, says, Fix did the same thing with True Calling. Fix, F-I-X, or do you mean FX, maybe? Did the same thing with True Calling. I've heard of True Calling, never seen it, don't know what it's about. But if they did the same thing, yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about. It's fucking annoying, isn't it? You know, it's not that shows get canceled. Shows get canceled all the time for a variety of different reasons. It's that it's just so frustrating when a show gets canceled and arcs are not complete. Narratives are not finished. Questions are not answered. And then, you know, there's the gall. That's right. You know, they have the gall to say, well, you could just go back and what? Why? Like, no disrespect to the actors of The Society, but, you know, like, you're on crack when you say that. Why would I go back and watch? So just to revisit, I'm just going to go back and watch this incredible story that began that goes nowhere. No! Why would I do that? I saw somebody one time say, yeah, but, you know, as a kid, you know, we used to watch movies over and over again. Yeah, because those movies had endings. When I was a kid, I used to watch The Goonies over and over and over again. I used to fucking wear out the VHS tape because you know what The Goonies has? An ending! It ends! It's not even the same in comparison. Anyway, CM says a show called Resurrection back around 2014-15 about people who had died years earlier mysteriously coming back like they never died, had 1 season, cliffhanger ending, and never heard from them again. I think I know the show you're talking about. Was it network television or was it streaming? There was some show, maybe it was this, I don't know, but there was some show I saw on Netflix where I think I read a premise very similar to that. I Googled it, found out it was canceled, didn't bother watching it. I literally do that. I can't stand that kind of, I will not invest my time in a show that literally goes nowhere. I won't do it. I refuse to do it. That's me. If you want to sit your ass on the couch for, 46 hours and watch 3 seasons of a show that literally goes nowhere, knock yourself out. Robert Nickerson says, I enjoyed Rome on HBO. I have heard of that show. It only had 2 seasons and got canceled because it was too expensive to produce. Yes, I remember hearing that. I'm still upset about it, but I would rather have those 2 seasons than never have the show at all. Well, I guess it depends, Robert, right? It would depend on how Rome ended. It would depend on whether... there's different types of shows with different types of that are created their foundations are different, right? Something like Manifest and the Society is built around the fundamental foundation of mystery, of the unknown. The catalyst that drives the narrative of Manifest, the catalyst that drives the narrative of the Society is this unknown factor, this mystery, this larger than life mystery that the characters are trying to solve. Without that mystery, there is no Manifest. There is no the Society. There is a gigantic mystery at the core. It is the catalyst that is driving this. That is why you're watching it. You are watching Manifest. You are watching the Society and shows like it because you want to know what the mystery is. You want to know it's what keeps you watching. That's what keeps you watching. Is the mystery. Yes, you hope that you get attached to the characters. Yes, there's always teen angst or soap opera drama between characters. That is the filler between the mysteries. That is the character development that allows you to get attached to the characters. You got to have that. But it is the mystery. It is the what is going on that the characters are trying to figure out that keeps you as a viewer watching. And if that just ends literally on an epic cliffhanger and you're never going to find out what the mystery is ever, why was I watching this show? I wasn't watching the show because Bobby cheated on John and now John's with Susie. You know, I'm not watching the show because Phil didn't get a raise and it caused a problem with his wife at home and Phil forgot to pick up his son at soccer practice. That's not why I'm watching the show. That's the shit that's the filler shit to create drama and character development, and then you weave it in and that's why we care. I get that. But that's not why I'm watching the show. I'm watching the show because I want to know how the fuck this plane landed if 5.5 years in the future. And now I will never know. I'm not yelling at you. I'm never going to. So why would I watch this show? Oh, by the way, that whole reason why you were watching Manifest, yeah, you'll never know. You'll never know now. Oh, thanks. Oh, by the way, you know the reason why you were watching The Society? How like that, that group of kids, they went on a field trip, but then they had to turn around and they came back and nobody was around. The entire town was like isolated. It was like a Lord of the Flies kind of thing. And there's like some religious kind of thing there. And they're trying to figure out like what happened to all the people in the town and they have to survive and how they're going to, yeah, you'll never know. Yeah, but that's why no, you'll never know. Canceled! So that's why. Now, with Rome, I've never seen Rome, but I know what it's about. I don't generally think there is the fundamental foundation of Rome is this mystery, this unknown factor that is driving it, right? Where, yes, maybe character arcs were left incomplete. Maybe the story wasn't finished, but I don't think it's as annoying as something like Manifest or The Society. But of course, that may also be person specific. It's insane. It's insane. Jonathan McAuliffe sends in £5, says, thoughts on Blumhouse apparently in talks to remake Christine. Don't care. Don't give a shit. I just don't care. It doesn't, I haven't, it's the first I'm hearing, no, actually it's not the first I'm hearing this. I heard this actually last week or the week before, actually. But whatever. I mean, I don't know. I don't know, right? I mean, it's maybe if I was in a different mood, I'd be more excited about it. But I just, Blumhouse is one of those, and I don't mean any disrespect to Blumhouse. I mean, but they are one of those companies that tend to, or at least is starting to pick up a lot of stuff, and they produce some really good stuff, and they produce a lot of dog shit too. But that's what happens when you throw everything at the wall, right? You're going to have some stuff that sticks, stuff that doesn't. One thing I do like about Blumhouse is that they do give the reins to a lot of up-and-coming filmmakers, which I think is a very noble thing to do. I don't have any issues with them. I mean, I don't have any issues with Blumhouse, Jason Blum, as a production company, as a film producer. I don't have any issues with anybody. But I'm looking at it from a purely sort of content and volume side, that they produce a lot of stuff, and a lot of their stuff that they help to produce or make is dog shit. But there's also a lot of stuff that they produce and make that's really good, right? But again, that's just a matter of numbers at the end of the day, right? I wish they were a little more selective in some of the things that they produce. Maybe a little more like A24, but A24 also has produced some stuff that's not overly great, so and Blumhouse is much bigger than A24. Blumhouse is a gigantic, major Hollywood player right now. So, they get a lot of stuff, and they throw a lot of stuff at the wall. Christine, I mean, I guess it's a right fit, I guess. But I guess what I'm saying, when I say that, okay, my thoughts on Blumhouse. Your question was, thoughts on Blumhouse apparently in talks to remake Christine. Well, you used apparently. So is this true? Is this just a rumor? Did you read this on We Got This Covered? Because if there's one thing We Got This Covered is they don't have anything covered. Do not read We Got This Covered. They play a numbers game. They lie to you. They throw everything at the wall. And then the more you throw at the wall, something's going to be right. And then they're going to go, see, we were right about that. Please. I'm not saying that's where you read that. I saw an article a week or so ago about a potential remake of Christine, but I don't recall hearing Blumhouse's name attached to it. So I don't know if you don't know, or if you read that. I don't know where you read that. But if Blumhouse is attached to it, they're as good of a production company to make a movie like that than any. So that's fine. I mean, they're competent, they're capable. But do I care about a Christine remake? No. That I don't care about. I know, I'm fiery today. Chris Baber sends in $3.99. Thank you, Chris. Says, Police Squad, 1 season, 1982. I rest my case. I would have to watch Police Squad. Wasn't that the show that inspired The Naked Gun? Wasn't it like Files from the Police Squad or something? That's with Leslie Nielsen, isn't it? But does it end on a cliff? But I don't know if that's a show though yeah, because you got the Naked Gun films, which sort of is kind of that extension, right? Do you know what I mean? So I don't know if that's exactly right, Chris. It's so annoying. Tim Lyon says, Dave, I agree with you. Wasted my time on many a show. Yeah, it is a waste of time. Listen, I feel that way. And it does depend. Depending on the narrative and the premise, depending on the premise of the show you're watching, it may become more apparent that you've wasted time than maybe other shows, right? Take a show like Elf, okay? For those of you that are old enough to remember the show Elf, or Alf, ALF, from the 1980s. That show ended on an epic cliffhanger, where Alf was his friends from outer space were going to pick him up, and the Tanners drove him to this location, and he was apparently captured by the alien task force, and that's where it ended. And they were going to have another season, and they never had another season. And then there was that Alf alien something or other TV movie in the mid-90s. It was kind of to make sense of the ending of that series, but of course didn't have the Tanners in it. But the point I'm making is that's a show that always bothered me. It ended on this massive cliffhanger. It shouldn't have ended like that. But the shows were episodic, and each episode had a different narrative. So you weren't following the same narrative over, like a lot of sitcoms every episode is different. Like there's something different happening. So you can enjoy them in vacuums. Like I can go and watch 4 seasons of Alf and enjoy each episode for what they are, because each episode has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Do you know what I mean? Yes, there is a larger arc in terms of there is this alien who they named Alf, which stands for alien life form, who lives with the Tanners, and this is the shenanigans of what he, you know, this is his story. But then you can come down to, you can compartmentalize and watch them in vacuums as well. And a lot of sitcoms were like that. But when it comes to like shows like Manifest or The Society or Into the Night or whatever show, whatever mysterious science fiction shows, they're not built like that. Each episode ends on a cliffhanger. Like every episode of The Society, every episode of Manifest, every episode of, you know, fill in the blank, right? Which deals with like, you know, science fiction, quantum physics, you know, all that kind of stuff, like different interdimensional, like when you're talking about those kinds of shows, right? Yes, a season will, like each season will end on an epic cliffhanger, but every episode will end on a mini cliffhanger because it's one narrative that you're watching from, like you can't really watch these episodes in vacuums and when it gets to the end of that episode, feel complete. Like you don't get that when you're watching, you know, Manifest or this is like, you don't get that because it is the foundation of the show is built around this perpetual state of driving the mystery forward from episode to episode, season to season, you know, going like this, until you hope that when you get to the climax of the episode of the whole bigger picture mystery, you know what I'm saying? It's very much like sex. But that's what it's like, right? So yes, are there some shows that do get canceled that you can go back and watch and enjoy each episode in a vacuum per se? For sure. It's not that a show gets canceled. It does depend on what the show is, what the narrative is, what the premise is, right? What's the foundation that they've set? That is all huge, 100%. There are many shows that you can watch for 3 seasons, it gets canceled, and yes, it ended prematurely, and maybe some things aren't wrapped up, but there isn't like this epic cliffhanger or this fundamental mystery that's driving the show that you never know. You know what I mean? Maybe you just never find out if Bob and Susie get married. You know what I mean? Or you never find out if Jim really did get that promotion, you know, or whatever. Like it's stuff that is annoying, but it's not like the other shit, man. It's not like the other shit. Oh my God. It's so annoying. So annoying. Yeah. Trevor Bristow says, since Disney bought Lucasfilm, they canceled the Clone Wars show. Everyone was not happy about it. It's been canceled for 6 years now, and Disney decided to bring it back, but on Disney Plus. Never watched the Clone Wars, couldn't care less about it, but I empathize with you. If there were arcs incomplete, if massive mysteries were incomplete, I can understand how that would be annoying for you. And if Disney Plus is bringing it back, well, then maybe maybe some loose ends will be able to be tied up for you. So that's a good thing. And like I said, I mean, there are examples of shows in the realm of what I'm talking about that do get canceled and are picked up. You know, there are many shows that get canceled on network television, but that do much better on streaming. So is it possible that, I don't think the Society will now. I think the Society is a lost cause because of how, you know, it was one season. It was on Netflix to begin with. And people liked it, but it's been like a year and a half now. Nobody cares about it, right? So unfortunately, I don't think the Society will come back. But Manifest, there's still a chance because Manifest was NBC, it was network television. And there's a chance because it's doing so well on Netflix that maybe Netflix will look at that and go, maybe one of Netflix's big executives is a Manifest fan. Maybe, I don't know. We can only hope. You know, and you know, they're like, all right, let's. You know, it's unlikely if Netflix was to pick up the show that they would pick it up for 2 or 3 more seasons. Netflix generally tends to be very, singular season. Okay, well, we'll take this, one season at a time, so to speak. But I would be okay if they said, okay, you know what? I know, you had this 6-season arc, which apparently they had. The producer, the creator of Manifest said, whether they did or not, who knows? But even if they did, they just got to say, hey, listen, I know you had this 6-season arc. Can you wrap it up over the next, we'll give you a 13-episode 4th season. How's that? Can you wrap it up in 13 episodes? I mean, and you should be able to. That's a 13-hour movie. Okay? You should be able to wrap it up. But yeah, it's fucking annoying. I'm so annoyed because, again, whether you like Manifest or not really is irrelevant. It becomes irrelevant. It's only relevant in the sense that you don't care that the show got canceled. Okay. But it can be, the principle of what I'm talking about can be applied to a show that you do care about. You know what I mean? So it's just the principle. It's the principle of it. Ren and Stimpy. Oh my God. Chris Baber with going hard into the paint. I haven't thought of Ren and Stimpy in a long time. Stimpy, you idiot, I think is what he always used to say. The defense rests, your witness, Ren and Stimpy. I don't know how that show ended. I can't remember. But you're right. There's a lot of shows out there that end premature cancellation. That's what it's called, folks. You heard it here first. You heard it here first. Maybe you didn't, but I haven't heard it anywhere else. Tony Movie Chappie, D9, Neil Blomkamp, #1 fan. D9, that's District 9, I assume. Neil Blomkamp, #1 fan. Says, question day, why do you think people nowadays are so fixated on the whole wokeness and are expecting it in movies and TV series now? People like Geeks and Gamers and other channel. Well, I don't. Okay, well, let me take the first part of your question. Look, there's 2 sides to it. There is legitimate stuff that I think can be, there is legitimate, as somebody who works in the business, I've worked in the entertainment industry for 20 years, I can tell you that and of course it exists in other areas of life too, but we're talking about movies and entertainment. There are problems with certain issues when it comes to women and minorities, and it absolutely exists, 100%. Now, how you go about lifting everybody up is where I think the problem exists. For me, I think there is a right way and a wrong way to do it. I don't think the right way, for example, to empower women is to give them a female James Bond or an Indiana Jane. Do you know what I mean? I think that's the wrong way to do it because then you don't know if it is successful. You don't know if the success is truly because of, of that, or if it's because it's riding on the coattails of Indiana Jones. You want to be able to rise and fall on your own merits, right? So it's the same with, hiring more black actors and black directors and all that kind of stuff. I'm all for that, 100%. But it should never be at the detriment, or it should never be riding on the coattails, in my opinion, of other successes necessarily. I mean, that's a blanket statement. There's a lot of variables involved there where it could make sense to do that. I'm just talking generally speaking. I think it's important too. Like what I really loved about, like, there's that stereotype, right? And there's nothing wrong with stereotypes, but it's so refreshing to see, movies with black characters that have nothing to do with the stereotypes, like barbershops or, whatever. Not that, Barbershop is not a funny movie. It is a funny movie, but it's buying into the stereotype, right? And although I wasn't a big fan of the movie Us, I liked Get Out better. I appreciate what Jordan Peele was trying to do with that movie. Like, that movie really, I mean, it could have and it couldn't have, but I like the fact that when I was watching Us, it could have been any family, right? It just happened to be a black family that this was happening to. At least that's what my memory of it, and I really appreciated that, because it's important that we see, yes, we have our distinct differences, our races, our cultures, we all have distinct differences. But at the end of the day, we're all people. We all bleed red. We all should treat each other with dignity and respect. Now, respect is earned. I don't believe you should treat somebody with respect just because of, their race or their, color. I think it is earned. I think we all should treat people with respect until we shouldn't, is what I'm saying, right? I think you know what I'm trying to say. But we should all treat people how we want to be treated. It's that old thing, right? And I love seeing people being lifted up on their own merits. There's no, the thing that annoys me the most is the virtue signaling. And what is virtue signaling? Well, that is that people are just doing something or making something to give the impression that they really care about X when they really don't. They're just doing it because they don't want to be seen as, you know what I mean? And that stuff you usually can spot it a mile away. A lot of politicians do that, for votes and for money and all that kind of stuff. And it definitely is in the entertainment industry too. But it's important that we recognize people are people. We have our differences. We absolutely do. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't invest in cultural films and films that are about that. We absolutely should. But it is so refreshing to see, people of different colors and creeds and races just playing the regular person in a movie. Like, I love seeing that too. And I've always believed that that's how you really lift people up, is you allow everybody to see each other as people. We all want the same things, man. We all want to be loved. We all want, health and love and safety and jobs and, to be able to, to support our families and all that kind of stuff. And the more that we can see our differences, but the fact that at the fundamental core, we're all human beings, I think is important. But I think we should be able to, give people the tools to succeed, right? Give them the tools to succeed, give them the opportunities, you know what I'm saying? But allow them to rise and fall on their own merits, not ride the coattails necessarily of like, oh, now we're going to have an Indiana, an Indiana, I was going to say the other thing, an Indiana Jane or a Jane Bond or whatever, right? It's like, maybe create something different, like allow something different, It's unfortunate that the Lara Croft films haven't done well, or that series hasn't really taken off into something really cool, because that's your Indiana Jane, right? I mean, that's your female James Bond, female Indiana Jones, essentially. Well, I guess could be kind of female Bond too, but that's essentially, Lara Croft is essentially your female Indiana Jones, right? It's awesome. It's too bad it never really took off, because that's its own thing. There was never a, Larry Croft. Do you know what I mean? It's always been Lara Croft. You know what I mean? And so it's too bad that never really took off. But we've had a lot of, strong female leads too. You know what I mean? Sarah Connor and Ripley from Alien and any final girl in most pretty good horror movies. You know what I mean? It's always been there, but certainly, yeah, there's room for improvement. I'm all for, a rising tide raises all ships, hopefully. But it's how you do it. You don't want to come across as preachy, condescending, and pretentious. And that's part of the problem in Hollywood today, is a lot of the wokeness that you're seeing is not organic. It's not authentic. It's preachy, it's condescending, it's pretentious, and it comes across that way. And it's too bad, because I do think there is a right way and a wrong way to do it, in my opinion. Now, the other part of your question there, or was it here? Oh, where'd you go? Oh no, I lost you. Something about, oh, here we are. It's a TV series, and now people like Geeks and Gamers, and other channel. I'm not familiar with Geeks and Gamers. I've heard of the channel, but I don't watch the channel. So I don't know what Geeks and Gamers is talking about. I don't know. I'm not sure. I've heard of the channel, but I don't know what they're doing. So I can't speak to what they're doing. I can say though that, I mean, there's a lot of channels out there that have become drama channels, and that's what they do. And they, it becomes, there's an invested interest in talking about drama, right? And a lot of these channels have a lot of subscribers. It's their full-time jobs. Not all of them, but they can make a pretty penny off of it, and drama gets clicks. And so sometimes they will talk about the same thing over and over again, or even the slightest little thing that really isn't news. If they can find an angle to it, right? That's something in journalism that you hear a lot. What's your angle? What's your in point, right? Because sometimes things aren't news, really. They're not newsworthy in and of themselves, or it's just the same thing over and over and over again. But if you can find a different angle, right? If you can find a different little in point that gives a little bit of a different perspective on it, then sometimes your editor will allow you to write the article. And the same thing can be said for drama YouTube channels, is that they will, if somebody, there's only so much you can talk about. Listen, I'm not somebody that hated the Star Wars sequel trilogy. I hated The Last Jedi. But there's only so much you can talk about until you are recycling the same information over again, just from a different point of view. So for example, if Kathleen Kennedy, who I know is hated a lot by Star Wars fans, she's still one of the greatest living producers in the history of cinema. But if she could drop a napkin and somebody would make a video on Kathleen Kennedy dropped a napkin. You see, if she can't even hold on to her fucking napkin, how the hell is she going? And then that's the, you know what I mean? It wouldn't matter, right? Because they have to keep the drama going. It gets clicks, it gets views, and there is a section of their fan base that wants that, right? It's called confirmation bias. They don't watch anything else that counters what they say. They just want to be fed information that confirms already what they believe. And a lot of these channels will do that. Now, I'm not saying Geeks and Gamers is doing that. I don't know if they're doing that. I don't watch them. But I do know that there's a lot of drama channels out there that do that. They become drama channels, and 98% of the time, that's all they're doing. They're talking about can you believe so-and-so? And it's like, holy, can you talk about something else? You know what I mean? Or if you're going to talk about drama, if you talk about other drama, there's a lot of, like, today you could say that this show today was drama, but at least it's something that, I have concrete, quantifiable, solid viewpoints and informed opinions based on what I'm talking about. I'm not just ranting and raving over nothing. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of those drama channels will do that. But Geeks and Gamers, I've heard of them, but I don't watch them, so I don't know what they're talking about. Troy Grubb says, Dave, is it important in movies to have a good cliffhanger ending like in your movie, It's Me, Billy, to leave the audience wanting more? And also, love the show, buddy. Thank you, Troy. No, not at all. I mean, it depends on, you should never have a cliffhanger just for the sake of it. Now, again, somebody could say, well, Dave, you left your movie on a cliffhanger and there's no more at the moment. Well, yes, that's because we don't have studio backing. Again, right? We're hoping, we took a risk. We took a chance. We're hoping that It's Me, Billy, that people will love It's Me, Billy so much that they will want to see how the movie ends and they will help fund the sequel. When you don't have studio backing, we can, as I've said many times, we can produce studio level production value, which is what we did. We can do that, but we have to do it in increments because it would just cost way too much money. If we wanted to shoot the entire story of It's Me, Billy all at once, we would have been asking for, maybe $150,000, $160,000, maybe more, depending on, what that second half entails. So it's much easier to ask for things in stages. But no, to answer your question, it depends on the story. You do not end a story or a movie on a cliffhanger just because, and there's a lot of films that do that, by the way, because they hope to, a lot of horror movies will do that because they're hoping it will resonate with the audience and that they will be able to make another one. But horror movies are often seen as cheap, not just cheap as in dollars, but cheap as in quality. And generally speaking, they don't care whether a horror movie ends with unanswered questions and the movie does terrible and they can't make another one because that's sort of par for the course. There's like, it's like 1 in every 3 horror movies seem to end on a cliffhanger of some sort. But no, for me, it should all be about the story. Is the story complete? Do you have more to tell? And if you don't, then just end it. End it, right? So no, I don't think it's a prerequisite. I don't think you should do it. It all depends on what the story entails. What the story entails. Da, 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 da. Let's see here. Warren Armour. Start with Alfred Hitchcock. His movies were so fresh and entertaining. He told his story and kept it suspenseful. He never made sequels. No, it's true. It's true. And you don't need to. And you don't need to. Now, again, the only reason why we ended It's Me, Billy on a sequel, on the cliffhanger we did, is because we have more to tell. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, when you're independent filmmakers not backed by studios, we thought during a pandemic, it was much more likely that we would raise $60,000 than, $200,000 or $120,000 or whatever, right? And we barely reached our goal. I mean, let's not forget, we did reach our goal, but it was in the last week of the campaign. So that tells you right there that if we wanted to raise $120,000, we wouldn't have been able to do it. So that's why, you do take these things in stages. But if a studio wants to talk about, our ears are open, as they say. Let's see. Story Focus says, Dave, what are your thoughts on the upcoming Texas Chainsaw movie? It seems like they're going with the H-18 formula, and I desperately want to succeed, but I don't think it will. Well, let's talk about probability. Let's look at the probability. The probability of it succeeding is small because, generally speaking, most horror movies suck. Most, not all, most do. That's not my quote. That's John Carpenter, folks. And the principle of what he's talking about is right. And the reason for that is because there's so many horror movies being made. You throw everything at the wall. Well, most suck, right? And then every now and then, it's something sticks, right? So yes, there's a good chance that it's going to suck. There's a good chance Halloween Kills is going to suck. I'm not saying it's going to. I'm just saying that the more horror movies you make, right? I mean, there's always that chance, right? I have had no interest in Texas Chainsaw Massacre since the 2003 film. I thought the 2003 film was one of the greatest horror remakes of all time. I think that's a general consensus. Most people feel that way. I was not a fan of the Texas Chainsaw series. I'm not a fan of 2 or 3 or, Leatherface, or I'm just not a fan of any of that. I did not like Texas Chainsaw at the beginning, although because it was a prequel to the 2003 movie. I wasn't a fan of that one where they made him sort of the anti-hero, like I'm supposed to be empathetic towards him now or whatever. And like that girl was his sister or something, whatever. The only thing I liked about that movie was it was like a direct sequel to the original. And I really liked the opening. Like they did a really good job at going back to 1974 and recreating the ending and showing you a perspective you hadn't seen before and all that kind of stuff. Really, really cool. But I never want horror movies to fail. It's my favorite genre, of course. And there's a lot of subgenres within that genre: psychological, thriller, supernatural, paranormal, you name it. But it's my favorite genre, always has been, always will be. I never want a horror movie to fail. I don't, because the more horror movies succeed, the better it is for the genre. But when we look at the pattern and we look at the past and we look at, what are the chances of this new movie succeeding? Well, they're behind the 8 ball. That doesn't mean it's not. Look at Halloween 18, right? It doesn't mean maybe this will come out and be really good. Really good. And it doesn't, and here's the thing too. The new remake of Texas Chainsaw doesn't have to be incredible. It doesn't have to be really good. It just has to be pretty good. It just has to be decent. In the world of horror, your movies don't have to be The Exorcist. Because there's so much garbage in horror movies, if you can just get over that hump and just that was pretty good. That was pretty good. That was like a solid 6, 7 out of 10. That was pretty good. You're aces, man. Because most horror movies are like 2 and 3 and 1 because there's just so much garbage being made. And then every now and then you get one that's like a 7. You're like, oh, that was actually pretty good. And, I know to some younger viewers out there, a 7 out of 10 might seem like a shitty score because you've grown up in the age of two completely, you know, films are either a 10 out of 10 or it's shit. And it's like, no, a 7 out of 10 is really good. It's a really good score, especially when most of the movies in your genre are garbage. So I wanted to succeed, man. I wanted to succeed like you, but I'm skeptical because of the pattern of Texas Chainsaw films. And, you know, but we'll see. I haven't read too much about it. I mean, I've read a bit about it, but I haven't read a lot about it. So I'll have to do a little more digging, but I'm rooting for it, man. I am rooting for it 100%. Let me scroll here and see what we got. What's going on? Let me make sure I didn't miss any super chats. Joe's Smidjon, is it Smidjon? Maybe it's Smidjon as opposed to like Smidjon. Anyway, sends in $5. Thank you, buddy. And says, here's another show canceled on a major cliffhanger. The Glades. Never heard of the Glades. Never heard of the Glades. Never heard of the Glades. Joe follows up with, Alf cliffhanger was fixed in the animated series a few years later. Yeah, I'm not, it was also fixed sort of Operation Alf or whatever it was in that TV movie with Martin Sheen in 96 or 7. Wasn't a big fan. I should never, in my opinion, and this is one of the things I hate about fucking Star Wars, but it's just because the universe is too big for its own good. I should never have to watch a movie. Sorry, I should never be expected to watch a movie and then have to resort to a book, a comic, or a cartoon for something that I saw in the movie to make sense. No. Now, if you are a huge Star Wars fan and you're into everything, well, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter to you. You don't care because you're watching the cartoons, you're playing the video games, you're reading the comics, and you're reading the books. I get that. So it doesn't matter to you. But to me, I fucking hate that. I hate it. Now, if you're going to make a movie and you're going to tell a story over 3 films, then do not leave. Listen, if there's little unanswered things, little minor stuff, that's fine, whatever, right? You know what I mean? But if there is like fundamental stuff, I'm talking about fundamental stuff. I do not want to go into a God. I do not want, sorry. No, but if you read the book by John Sinkenstonger and you know, page 206, paragraph 3, it'll explain to you. Fuck that. I don't want to do that. I loathe that. Well, no, but it makes sense if you play Attack of the Force Killers for, you know, Xbox One. If you played that game, they actually told you how. I don't care. It should not be reliant on that. That is a huge pet peeve of mine. Huge pet peeve of mine. I don't like that. I never have. But that's me. That's me. 5 more minutes left to go in the show, folks. 5 more minutes left to go in the show. And like I said, if you're watching after the fact or if you're watching live, comment in the comment section below after the show is done and let me know a show that ended on a massive cliffhanger, story incomplete, arcs incomplete, narrative, I mean, so many, and you just have no idea how, and I'm not talking about little minor stuff. I'm talking about the fundamental catalyst that was driving the story. You have no idea, and you never will. Comment below and let me know. What was that for you? What was that for you? Let's see here. What do we got? Micah underscore hammer 215. You keep changing your name, my man. Sir Dave of Toronto. My favorite shot, and it's me, Billy, is at the end when he's dragging that chick down the hallway. Well, that chick is Victoria. That chick is Sam. Yes, he's dragging Sam down the hall and throws her into this room and locks her inside. Yeah, that was a great shot. That was fun. We knew that was going to be, when we were doing our location scout, we knew that was going to be that we were going to use that. Again, the entire movie was shot at that house. So the attic is the attic of that house. The basement where Sam is being dragged is the basement of that house. The house was built in the 1800s, if I'm not mistaken. It's like 150 years old. And it's incredible. It's such an awesome location. And if we get a chance to bookend the story, we definitely will be going back to that location. Well, if we can raise the money, that is. Things are not cheap, ladies and gentlemen. Things are not free when you're making a movie. Well, I mean, they can be free if you know people who know people, and if you're just going out to guerrilla the movie, of course, but not when you want to shoot it at a location like that. What do we got? A couple more minutes left. Couple more minutes left. Let me scroll back. No. Trevor Bristow says, oh, one more thing. I got Godzilla vs. Kong on 4K Blu-ray. Very cool. They released it like Tuesday. I got it at Walmart. Very cool. And now Godzilla and Kong are fighting each other at my Blu-ray self. Not sure what you mean there, but it's cool that you got it. I liked Kong vs. Godzilla. I did, or Godzilla vs. Kong. I liked it. I thought it was good, but I didn't like it as much as I liked Godzilla King of the Monsters. I'll be honest with you, I couldn't care less if they made another one. And I say that because I think it's getting a little... I really like the visuals. And you guys know me, I'm a diehard Godzilla fan. And I'll always be up to watch a Godzilla movie. I shouldn't say I couldn't care less. That's a bit strong. I'm worried because Godzilla vs. Kong was very video gamey and very chintzy, and even more than King of the Monsters. Like King of the Monsters is as chintzy and cheesy and sort of video. That's as far as I would go with it. I still think it was I like King. I do not understand how people can have issues with the characters in King of the Monsters, but the characters in Godzilla vs. Kong didn't. You kidding? The characters in Godzilla vs. Kong were arguably even more one-dimensional and completely cheesy. And I don't get it. I don't get it. I do not get it. I do not get it. But all right. I love Godzilla King of the Monsters for what it was. I'm just worried that the next movie in the movieverse is going to be even more self-aware, even more chintzy, you know, where we're going to have like this alien race from another planet coming to Earth and, you know, turning into cockroaches at the end when they're killed by Godzilla. Yeah, that's true. That actually happened, by the way, in one of the old 70s. I don't want it to turn into... I don't want this to turn into those old school 70s Godzilla cheesy, you know, those, I don't want to turn into that. I want there to be a sense of, some sort of sense of real world physics. Do you know what I mean? Like some sort of sense of real world physics. You know, I want that. You know, I can suspend my disbelief a little bit, but when these two behemoths are standing on an aircraft carrier and they're throwing each other around like it's nobody's business, it's like, you know, but was it a spectacle? Was it fun to watch? Yes, it was fun to watch. Absolutely. I did not like it. I liked it. I'll get it. I'll get it when it comes out for sure. But this is like this is the extent of where I would go in its video gamey sort of, you know, that's as far as I would go. I wouldn't go any further. Like, just keep it there. Don't then bring in other weird, you know, like a Dr. Claw villain. Like, that's not, please. I'm not for, I got to have some sense of believability, but that's me. All right, folks, listen, that's going to do it for me for episode 179 of McRae. I believe it's 179, right? Yeah, 179 of McRae Live. Thank you very much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Thank you to the Super Chat questions that came in, the non-Super Chat questions that came in. Thank you to my great moderators, Frank Riker, Tab of the Shore, Darren Sands, and Chris Baber, for doing what you guys do each and every show. I really appreciate it. Without you guys, this is a pretty good place, but every now and then it might become a mess. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And I should be back tomorrow. I will let you know if I'm not, but I should be back tomorrow, of course, 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You guys are amazing. You know that. Comment below and let me know your thoughts. What shows were suffered the premature cancellation? Let me know. And I'm not just talking about a show that just ended but wasn't really a big deal. I'm talking about a show where it's like, you can't just end it there. Like, it's so unfinished. Like, please at least give us half another season to wrap some shit up. What shows did that for you? Comment below and let me know. I'd love to know. Folks, have a great rest of your Thursday. Stay safe out there, and I will talk to you soon. Alrighty. Cheers.